Ooh, Betty from Ohio. Betty's first. Lori, Hillsborough, North Carolina. There's only two of you in here. That's it. It's just you two, Betty and Lori and me. Oh, Amber. What's up, Amber? Sabrina. All right, guys. There's Jane, Marcy, Sarah. Hey, North Dakota, my friends. Sarah. Hi, good morning. Okay, so we got a great crew, okay? And I have a ton of things to say and limited times to do them. I've only had one cup of coffee and a little bit of an energy drink, so we're going to hope that I can make the words and say the things. So, first of all, I want to say what an honor and a privilege that it is to be selected for this final day keynote on this amazing conference. Guys, it's like a reunion every time we have Dare to Be Great. And I love that. I'm all about that. I'm deeply thankful to Ricardo for giving me the opportunity to fellowship with some of the coolest members of the 911 community and many of you who I'm lucky to call my friends. For those of you out there in the crowdcast sphere, whatever it's called, I'm Roxy VanGundy. If you were here on day one, you know I'm addicted to ham dip. Ham dip is my jam. But seriously, I am the proud director of my home center where I started, which is something that I'm very proud of, Lyons County Emergency Communications here in Kansas. I have the privilege to get to work alongside 17 of the most amazing humans every single day. God gave me the incredible gift of getting to lead and learn from some of the most hardworking 911 leaders in this country. My fellow keynoters, Sam and Dominique, they come from really large centers. You could probably fit my center into theirs a couple of times, maybe more than a couple of times. But we are nonetheless very proud of the community and the organization that we've created here. We're small, but we're mighty. And I hope that those of you out there who are in a 1 or 2 seat center know that I see you and I'm proud of you. And I know how hard it is to be a little rural center trying to make it. So thank you for what you do. Many of you out there have heard me teach and discuss my time in Alaska. I worked proudly for the Alaska State Troopers in Fairbanks, which is the most northern city in Alaska. We experienced 60 below almost every winter. We had to plug in our cars, and that's pretty cool and pretty fun to explain to people in the lower 48. The vast majority of the year, we lived in either round-the-clock sunshine or round-the-clock darkness. And if you believe that weather changes the call volume in a 911 center, I'm here to attest, yeah, it really does. I'm also the national co-chair for the NENA Wellness Committee. We've done some work there that I'm really proud of and really love to promote. The Peer Support InfoDoc and National Standard to Protect the Wellbeing of 911 Professionals are incredible documents that I encourage you to go seek out at nena.org. Many of our members work tirelessly, that's a big word with no coffee, to give you quality step-by-step guides to improve the condition of your center. So if you're going to be at SPP next month, I'd really love to see you. We have some cool things that we're going to roll out. And this is the point which some of my fellow speakers have mentioned their children. My husband and I were not blessed with tiny humans, just never was in the cards for us. But we do have a dog, and right or wrong, we treat him as our little tiny son. There he is on my wall. For those of you who follow me on the Book of Face, he's truly the light of my life. He's taught me more about bravery and resilience and kindness than most humans that I know. And seriously, he's all the things. He has the mohawk too, so he's really cool. I've thought about this keynote a lot over the last few months, and I've written a couple of things that have inspired me in that season. And I hoped that you could take away some good things from the time that we have together. But things change. Things that I wrote have changed, and so has this keynote. And just like dispatching, nothing ever stays the same. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet, I hope. 3 questions, 2 quotes, 2 stories. So here we go. Here's why we should listen to Ricardo. So first, I want to start out with the 3 questions. Think about the answers as we walk through what I'm about to say. The first one, why are you here? That seems kind of blunt, but truly, why did you decide to register for Dare to Be Great? What did you want to get out of it? Did you think about any of that at all when you signed up? Second, what gifts, talents, special traits do you have that are locked up inside of you that could make your work life, your overall personal life, and your well-being a little bit better? Third, what's stopping you from using them? Are you here to make a change, or are you here to keep just doing what you're doing? The last several years, I've seen a lot more talk than ever before about developing ourselves, learning, training, growing, empowerment, have the boundaries, what's my purpose? It's all become part of those trending buzzwords. And all of that's really great. But what are we actually doing with all of that empowerment and knowledge when we're obtaining training? When the last session of Dare to Be Great is over, which I think is my girl Erica and Yasmin, is that it? I mean, do we just log off and this is a great time and we go home? How do we take what we learn here and we turn it into making our piece of the world better? How do we decide to dare to be great? So, as they say on the TikTok, let's get into it. So one of my absolutely favorite quotes is from Cheryl Strayed. And if you don't know Cheryl, like me, she went through a really dark period in her life after her mother's death. She walked the Pacific Crest Trail. Wild is a movie that was made about her life, and she's authored several books. This quote has meant different things to me in different points in my life and in my career, but it always hits so hard every time I read it. She writes, "We don't reach the mountaintop from the mountaintop. We start at the bottom and we climb up. Blood is involved." And that speaks a lot to what our life is like in the dispatch center, doesn't it? We start from the bottom. We might never reach the top, but the climbing never stops. But our life in dispatch can also be sometimes bloodier than we ever imagined. I didn't start in this career or in a center that was very welcoming. They made it pretty clear to me that who I was or my value to the organization was only determined after I proved myself to be worthy. There was yelling. There was a lot of treating people poorly just because they were veterans and we were new. Unprofessionalism was the norm. And who I was and what I wanted from that position, what I could offer, wasn't even considered. And in getting the opportunity to travel around and get to know some of you out there, I know that you're dealing with that right now, daily, in 2022. What happened to me 17 years ago is still happening now. And 911 is not perfect in many ways, and that's one of them. And I knew for a really long time that what was happening wasn't right, but I dealt with it. And after a while, it just kind of broke me. I became the person that I didn't want to be. And I remember getting this letter from a trainee who had just quit. And she sat through this letter and outlined all the ways that I had ruined her life. How horrible I had made her feel, how much yelling and desk slamming that I did pushed her towards the edge. She told me that I was one of the worst human beings that she had ever had the displeasure of knowing. Truly, that's the worst thing ever. It's not often that somebody takes the time to write out all the ways that you're absolutely terrible. And that's a real gut check. You know, even if you want to act like it's not, that really hurts deep. And that was the first time that I really thought about the fact that I had become something that I didn't want to be anymore. My environment had changed me because I had let it. I let 911 take me down instead of using it to lift me up. And I didn't have to become what I had already hated. It didn't have to happen. It's easy to hold on so tightly to what you think it means to be strong and what you think it means to navigate a difficult position and what you think it means to be respected. As an administrator, I see this happen more often than not in our level of the field. Administrators hold on so tightly to what they think it means to be in charge, what they think it means to get respect, tough love, all of that. And they completely miss that it takes such little effort to just be a nice human. Administrators can be nice humans too. And getting that letter was the first time I thought about daring to be great. And heck, I didn't even know Ricardo then. Daring to be great starts with realizing and accepting that maybe you're part of the problem. Accountability can be the first step in transformation. Leaning into all of that yuckiness that you had just accepted was a part of your life, who you were, what you were, owning that. And often I don't see when people post on Facebook about how terrible their culture is, I don't see them admitting that they too are part of the problem. It's everyone's fault that things are the way they are. And maybe your investment in the overall problem is small, but those little lies that you tell yourself about the fact that you can't do anything to change a sinner, they build up, they grow, they turn into this big monster before you even realize it. And during the beginning of my career, I was complicit. I allowed something to happen to me and around me that I knew wasn't right. I didn't speak up about it. I didn't change it. I let getting knocked down a few times keep me down. I let the business and the culture problems of 911 swallow me whole. And part of my journey to this seat, speaking to you today, is making a promise to myself that I was going to go all in on daring to be great. I dabbled in changing my perspective on 911 after I got that letter. I dabbled in trying to have a good attitude when I could, but I really went all in on changing my perspective of this job and the absolute privilege we have to do it. The privilege, guys, that we have to be in 911 when my friends were murdered. Now, as I've said in my first Dare to Be Great speech, they had to die for me to wake up. And that is brutally harsh and raw, but that's the truth. It was one of the biggest, bloodiest moments on my way up the mountain. And it was the moment that I stopped kidding myself and realized that I wasn't the person that I wanted to be, that I could be. I could be better if I wanted to put the work in. And I realized I just couldn't play around anymore because tomorrow isn't promised. That time was a slap in the face. That time was the slap in the face that I needed to stop dabbling in being a better person, a nicer wife, a more supportive co-worker. I either had to walk this road with a new outlook, boundaries, and a vision, or I needed to just get out of 911 completely. Now, I'm going to be the bad guy here and say that there are some of you out there watching this that might need to have that conversation with yourself. You have to do what makes you happy, fulfilled, and gives your life the purpose that you're looking for. And when you're at that crossroads, thinking about what you're going to do in your career, you have to evaluate what traits, talents, and qualities you bring to that field. What makes you feel good about doing what you're doing? What's that thing that you offer that can make your work life and your home life better? And that's really the first step, y'all, in listening to Ricardo. Daring to be great doesn't have to be some big momentous gesture. It doesn't have to be speaking at a conference. You don't have to get all the letters behind your name. You just have to figure out that one thing that makes 911 or whatever it is in your life better for you. And something that I watched my friends do time and time again was lift people up. They didn't have to do that. There wasn't something listed in their job descriptions that lifting people up was required. But still, they used their position in our agency as a vehicle to make other people's lives better. Co-workers, citizens, us dispatchers, kids in the community, it didn't matter. If somebody needed their help, job description or not, they responded. And I remember seeing a new member of our agency, a law enforcement officer who was going through training, and he just had this really difficult call that what I could see and what I could hear is that it didn't go very well. And I heard some yelling from his trainer as they came back into our station. It was really loud. I couldn't quite tell what he was screaming at him. But a short time later, I had to go back in the hall and get a drink. And I saw one of my friends who had died, who was also a ranking officer, talking to the trainee in the hallway. And the trainee was really upset. I mean, he was crying. And my friend was there and he was talking to him. He had this low voice, a kind face, understanding eyes, and he had his hand on his shoulder, actively listening with intention. And I couldn't really hear what he was telling him, but the body language between the two of them told me all I needed. My friend was lifting his spirit, encouraging him, as he had done so many times before with so many other people. He didn't disrespect this trainee's trainer. He didn't embarrass this trainee by doing something in front of everybody else. He pulled him aside and let him know that he had somebody in his corner. That however this training turned out for this new officer, my friend would be just as proud of him. And just in those few seconds, I saw that trainee's face go from shattered to hopeful, all because my friend took a couple of seconds to listen, to give an encouraging word. Another time, I had received a call from a woman who lived in one of our outlying towns. She did not seem herself, kind of slurred her words. She was really upset. I asked her several times if there was something that she needed some help with. And she told me in a broken voice that she'd really like to speak to my other friend. He was a line level law enforcement officer. And he had just come in from a really long shift. He was about 20 minutes from going home. And I told her, unfortunately, he's really busy at the moment and he's almost getting ready to go home. And she asked me again if I could just tell him that she was on the phone. He'd worked a call for her before. And immediately, all the dispatchers in the room, this feeling, I went really defensive because we all know those callers who want their favorite officer to keep talking to so they can solve their problem, one-stop shopping. But she continued to tell me in her shaking voice that he had told her to call him if she ever felt like she might be relapsing. He wanted to support her in that journey because in the town that she lived in, there wasn't any services that could help people with addiction. She didn't have a lot of family there, not a lot of friends. So I relented and I called him, and his voice was tired, and I told him who was on the line, and he didn't hesitate to tell me to call his wife and tell her that he'd be a little late and to put the caller through to a desk phone that was in an office just off of dispatch. And I sat there and I watched him for the next 2 hours talk this woman through a potential relapse. They talked about kids, how he had just had a baby, how parenthood was so exhausting, they had forgotten what sleep was like, and they laughed. And I think there were a few moments that he just listened to her cry. And I think that's what she needed. And when he hung up, he told me thank you for putting her through. He needed to talk to her just as much as she needed him. He didn't have to. He had kids at home. He was hungry. He was tired. But somebody needed him to respond. So he did. And that always stuck with me. You could treat your coworkers and your citizens with kindness, dignity, and respect, and still be a badass law enforcer. Or in our case, a badass telecommunicator. You can actually use your job to do more than just doing your job. You can create impactful moments with others. And I love that. That was something I always wished I could do, even though I didn't ever feel like I had the courage to do it. So when they died, I couldn't really let that end. That was the catalyst for me to go all in on daring to be great. I chose to start climbing the mountain. And I'm not there yet, guys. The mountain just keeps getting taller, just keeps moving higher. But I just keep pushing. I don't stop. And I didn't start out daring to be great in a huge way. It started for me in writing people notes. Words are my love language, so I thought that would be an easy place for me to start. Little sticky notes telling people how I appreciated them, even the people that I wasn't exactly friends with. I would write what I admired about them. I'd stick it in their box. I wouldn't put my name on it. Eventually, they figured out it was me. But if they had cool shoes on that day, their hair looked great. Those were when I was really struggling for things to put on our notes. But it started with a small step and a lot of consistency. And then I turned in doing the notes for our officers, like just a small note and some candy that said, hey, you really kicked butt on that call. That was super awesome. Thank you so much for what you do. And I had to work really hard during that time to make a conscious effort to choose joy in situations where my normal default was anger. It took work to see the good in all people, all things, and all experiences that we face in our center, on the radio, on the phone, at home. The more I did it, though, the more it became second nature to me. Choosing to see people and things that happen to us in a positive way became something that made my heart happier and lighter. It makes me feel better. It helped me get through all the overtime, through all the tough calls, all that drama that we have in our centers going on in the background. Choosing joy. And I just kept choosing joy. And eventually it just stopped being a choice. It became who I was. And as the Juliet Brown, we all know the Juliet Brown, she's amazing, said in her presentation on day one, I started to notice that I was outgrowing some of the people who didn't want to choose joy, that didn't want to change. And daring to be great sometimes will separate you from the people who aren't ready to make that transition. And that's okay. That's okay. But you can't go back. You can't dabble. Once you choose it, a life of growth, of positivity, of learning from your mistakes, of lifting others up, you cannot go back. Making things better starts with the belief that you can dare to be great, that you're worthy, that you can be a disruptor of the norm. I don't care if you're line level. I don't care if you're a CTO. I don't care if you're an administrator. I don't care. You can be the disruptor of the norm. And maybe you don't feel worthy enough to make a difference. Maybe you don't have any more confidence, or you don't have any more confidence. Maybe you didn't start with any confidence to begin with. But listening to Ricardo starts with the understanding that none of that is the case. You are worthy. That confidence can be built back up. You being at this conference right now is a great start in doing that. Change starts with people who are ready to take one tiny step forward. And guys, you don't have to be at the top. Like I said, you can make changes in your work life, your personal life, whatever part of your life that's lacking. You just have to be brave enough to take one step forward, to lean into that fear. And by doing that, especially in 911, you can change things for everyone, not just you. How powerful is that? You can make a person's life better by making the choice to change. Teaching someone how to do something in your center. I know here we all have secondary duties. Teach someone else how to do those things. Build a monthly training for everybody. Start volunteering in work groups for Nina and APCO. As a work group leader, we need help. We need voices from rural centers to metro centers. We need everybody to help. Write a policy that you think needs changing. I would love if my employees came in here with a policy for something that they thought should be different or something that they thought might make it better. Bring it to your administrator, okay? There's so many ways that you can make a difference for not only yourself, but everyone you work with and around you. Do what makes you excited. Talk to your administration about your ideas. If they say no, keep asking. No is just not right now. Keep asking. Whatever gets your fire stoked, you've got to do that. Okay? And we all get the same 24 hours in a day. We spend a lot of those at work. Wouldn't you want to spend them doing things that make you happy, fulfilled? I know I did. That's what I wanted. But once I started talking to people doing this job in both our state and out in the country, I realized people actually do need some random person they don't know to make them smile. They need somebody to tell them how proud they are of them. People need someone to love them. Now, secret dream. I'm letting you in on my secret future hopes. Maybe I could quit my job someday and do. But I would love to buy a van or a bus. A bus would be even more obnoxious, and that's totally me. And paint it sparkly colors and just drive around the country, PSAP to PSAP, and just tell people how amazing they are for doing one of the toughest jobs in the world. I would love to have the chance to just give a bunch of verbal hugs and support and love on people, and then just move on to the next one. There are so many people in our centers these days that just need some love. Not enough love in the world, y'all. And we cannot lose our humanity while we're trying to save humanity. Love and care are all that are going to get us through. And I do believe if we start seeing that daring to be great doesn't have to involve some grand gesture, but daring to be great starts with the small things, and that those small things add up. If we get more and more of that out there and put those actions into place, regardless of how other people will see you, to unabashedly choose this profession, to level up rather than let it bring you down, we're going to eventually turn the tide. 911 is going to be this profession that everyone wants to emulate rather than run away from. Okay, second story, second quote. We're almost done. You're hanging in there. Proud of you. Steve Jobs once said, "You've got to find what you love." And that is true for your work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And if you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. And as with all matters of the heart, you're going to know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking until you find it. Don't settle. I'm going to stop and take a drink here. I believe that Steve Jobs, before Ricardo Martinez, invented the term dare to be great. I mean, think about it, right? Him and Woz created Apple in a garage. Think about how many of you can't live without your phones, your tablets, your watches. That all started from a guy who said, "Hey, I have this idea, and I think it would be really cool, and I'm going to be relentless in my pursuit of it." Sounds like a guy that we all know that had an idea about how to make dispatching better by giving us a place to feel safe, to share our trauma, to grow together, to laugh together, to be in this space right now together. Ricardo, my friend, he started at Little Frostproof PD in Florida. He moved to a bigger center, and he had this idea about making dispatchers' lives better by sharing his story. And all of that grew into what it is today. Dare to be Great, the podcast, Dispatchers Roundtable, Open Mic Live, all of that is from one idea. And I'm sure when he started doing I Am 911 stories, he never ever thought what this was going to turn into. Almost every single person in the dispatch world knows who he is, knows what he stands for. And guys, Steve Jobs and Ricardo made a brave choice to step into something that was unknown. They leaned into fear and just said yes. And that's all it really takes to make a change in the world. So here's the question. When are you going to start listening to Ricardo? Now, I don't want to forget the story that I had to go with this quote. Short, we're almost there. Hang in there. I'm an administrator, and contrary to popular belief, being an administrator is not an easy position. I'm responsible for keeping the lights on, keeping the peace. I'm responsible for keeping everybody happy. But something that I miss quite badly is being in the center every day. And mind you, I pull shifts, I help out, but it's not really enough to feed my dispatchery need. Y'all know what I'm saying? And I've had to kind of go through this journey of settling in and finding what I love about this job in this season of my life, because it is really different than being on the floor every day. Finding what I love and finding what has moved me up the mountain all these years had to change. And becoming an administrator caused me to have to think all of my priorities, what's important to me. But as I've grown to find what keeps my fire burning for the work that I do, I had to go back to the beginning of my Daring to Be Great journey. That choice to be a cheerleader, a pep talker, a hype girl for anybody who needs it. I began to love being a hype girl on a larger scale. And it's been such a blast and has given me this renewed purpose for 911. Your goals to be great have to always change. They're always moving. They're always growing. And I love creating community for folks. I love giving people someone they can talk to, they can bounce ideas off of. I love being the traveling version of what we have going on in our center. And this year I've had the opportunity to travel to some different conferences in areas that I've never been to before to train, like the Dakotas, which was a wonderful experience, Nebraska. Hey, Nebraska peeps, what's up? And I've loved getting to do that because of all of the amazing people that I've gotten to meet along the way. And while we're not perfect, y'all, we have one thing going for us in 911. We have some of the best damn people in the business. The coolest, the most interesting, just amazing people who love this business so much. And I've gotten to have conversations. I've gotten to seek people out and talk to them and support them and love them. And I met somebody in my travels to the Dakotas that I noticed just by her body language and how she was talking that there was a lot going on in her center that she wasn't letting on. And sometimes, like us all, I can be a little nosy. It's a dispatcher trait. So I didn't want to pry. I didn't know if she was ready to talk to somebody that she didn't know. So I didn't say anything. And I instantly regretted it. And I thought about her all the way home because I knew for some reason that our paths were supposed to cross. And luckily, a couple of weeks later, she reached out to me over email. And she told me about what was going on. I was right. There was more to the story. And she was dealing with some really tough stuff in her center. And she felt like she was at the point where she might want to move on. And guys, I don't want to stop anybody from ever finding their passion. But I wanted to encourage her to speak up, to be confident enough to put her concerns out there to her administration. And she emailed me afterwards and thanked me for my advice. She'd spoken to her supervisor and felt like she'd opened up that line of communication. Things were a little better, and she was trying to find ways to maybe impact the morale a little bit more. And gang, I didn't do anything but listen and tell her what she already knew. She and you have the power and the gifts and the voice to change anything that you want in your center. And that's exactly what she did. She decided to dare to be great. Now, I believe wholeheartedly in lollipop moments, and because we're limited on time and I'm already probably over time, we're not going to play it. But there's a great TED Talk on it. I'd encourage you to go out and find it. But the overall idea of a lollipop moment is to tell people when they've impacted your life. So I want to tell her, thank you for confirming for me that daring to be great is what I love. Daring to be great gives me more purpose in a sometimes very taxing, stressful career. Being there for her and being there for others who need me to make their 911 experience better than what it was for me, that's what I love. And in closing, guys, use this conference, this moment. Listen to what Ricardo has been telling us for 4 damn conferences. Let's get after it and change the world. And I know, I've worked in dispatch long enough to know there are probably some naysayers out there still. Some that are making up excuses as to why they can't even allow themselves to believe that they even can start to change. I get it. Like, I fight that mentality every day. And I know some of you are maybe saying, hey, Roxy, I'm from a small town in southern Mississippi. There's one stoplight here. Nobody even knows that I'm at work most of the time. It doesn't matter if I dare to be great. Roxy, I'm not a public speaker. I can't do anything to change things. I can't fix the problems in my center. I'm not very talented. I'm so tired, Roxy. The overtime, we're working so much. Man, that sounds great, but I just can't do it. Guys, I want you to get real close right now. I want you to get your ears right up to the speaker so you can hear me clearly. But, not, don't, can't. They all need to get out of your vocabulary right now. That's not something that you say starting today. And maybe y'all ain't ready for me, but you need to stop believing that you aren't enough to be the catalyst for change. Make the decision. We don't need any of you to fix the world tomorrow, but we need you to be committed to making a positive change for 911 in the long haul. We need you to lock arms with those of us out there doing it and fight to keep our profession going past the hardest times. Transformation in yourself, transformation in 911 can happen if you let it. What most people on this platform have in common is that you are or you were a dispatcher. That makes you superhuman, special even. There are more doctors in this world than there are dispatchers, so don't you dare tell me that you can't. Don't you tell me no. You can dare to be great. And this is coming from a girl from a town of 900 people. We have one stoplight. We have far more churches and hair salons than we possibly need. I did not graduate from college. My friends out there can tell you that I'm usually pretty petrified to speak. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I'm a cancer survivor. I have a chronic illness that sometimes breaks me down, and I'm going to have to fight it the rest of my life. I fight self-doubt, depression, sadness, not enoughness every single day. I'm a wife and a dog mom for lots of years. I was a caregiver of my ailing parents. I'm tired too, y'all. But damn it, we're dispatchers. We don't give up. We don't quit. And at my old agencies, there's this great sign on the wall that says, we'll either find a way or make one. And that fits daring to be great in a major way. We're in a time in 911 where we need people to not give up. We need more people to keep trying to fight through one of the hardest periods I've seen this profession go through. You're just one decision away. Listen to Ricardo. Dare to be great. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for getting up early. I will put my contact information in the chat. Reach out to me. I want to be your hype girl if you need it. I want to be there if I can help you stay. So thank y'all very much.
Damn. Wow. So there were a few moments there where I had to have been cutting onions in here somehow, even though I don't have onions, but thank you for being you, man. It's just everyone who has been speaking, especially, all of you as keynotes, just destroying it, man. Like, this has been so good, and thank you for the kudos. You are correct. I had no idea a lot of this stuff in the beginning, coming from Frostproof, a little tiny town with 2 traffic lights and a McDonald's.
That's just it, Ricardo. I mean, it's just one decision, just saying yes to one thing. So
Damn. I don't know if you, when we were in the green room, I had asked you about the chat, and if you you didn't want to break up your flow, you don't look into the chat or whatever. But if you did or didn't, if you didn't, make sure to go back. Like I keep telling everybody else, make sure to go back and read everything, because it was. Let's see, Selena says gonna have to watch the replay. Yes, definitely gonna have to watch the replay. That was amazing, very very heartfelt, and you definitely got me in the feels, and got me just thinking about everything. And I'm sure the same with everyone else, as I was watching the chat and just reading and reading and reading and reading. And so Gary here says, wish I could have been in here the whole time, or maybe not. Shouldn't be crying in front of new hires.
No, you shouldn't do that.
But I mean, in a way, it also shows that it's okay. I mean, that it's all right.
We're all
To be able
people
to
too.
feel, yeah, man.
Yeah.
And damn, when you submitted this, and I read the title, I was like, huh? But
Does it make sense now?
It makes perfect sense. Yes, I mean, like I said, I'm sitting here, excuse me, with tears in my eyes and just jaw dropped. And thank you. You are a gem to this profession, and I appreciate you very very much, and everyone here in the audience, and just yeah, daring to be great. It's what we got to do. It's what we got to do to get through.
Thank you for having me, buddy. Remember, you're a life changer. You've made it better for everyone. So don't forget that.
I appreciate it. It's hard sometimes. I know. I do my thing, and I love it. I love doing this, and it's been an amazing experience. So thank you so very much, and thank you to everyone for being here, being part of Dare to Be Great for Air of the Headset. And we are going to be wrapping this one up here. We're going to go to the next one that is coming up, and we have got a powerful, amazing day, just jam-packed for all of you for day 3 here. So thank you again, and we will see all of you here in just a moment in the next one.